Well, hello and welcome. I'm Misheard with Misheard Song Lyrics Podcast. We're in Season 6, Episode 281. Our Misheard Song Lyric today is, do the ditches and burn through the witches I slam in the back of my Dragula. And then the correct lyrics is, dig through the ditches and burn through the witches I slam in the back of my Dragula. You guessed it, we're doing a Rob Zombie misheard song lyric for our horror rock fans. All right, let's start. So, Dragula is a debut solo single co-written and recorded by American rock musician Rob Zombie. It was released back in August of 1998. Wow, what is that, 17 years ago this August? Time is flying. As the lead single from his solo debut called Hell Billy Deluxe. Love the puns. Since its release, it's become Zombie's most recognizable song as a solo artist and is also his best-selling song and has sold over 717,000 copies in the U.S. by 2010. And again, it's not doing the dishes, it's dig through the ditches. But it is important to do your dishes, right? The audio clip Superstition, Fear, and Jealousy heard at the beginning of the song is a sample from dialogue of a 1960 horror film, The City of the Dead, also known as Horror Hotel, and is spoken by Christopher Lee, a very famous horror actor. I remember him from the 70s, especially with his rendition of Dragula. So perfect that it was part of Dragula, the song. The song also appears on Rob Zombie's Past, Present, and Future, and the Greatest Hits album, The Best of Rob Zombie. So let's talk about Rob Zombie. Is that really his name? Probably not, right? He was born Robert Bartley Cummings in Haverhill, Massachusetts, back on January 12th, 1965. So his birthday is today. Oh my God, how weird. I'm filming it on this podcast episode and January 12th, 2025, and it's Rob Zombie's birthday. That's a crazy occurrence. Anyway, I digress. He was born on January 12th, 1965, and he's the oldest son of Louis and Robert Cummings. So happy birthday during the taping of this episode for this misheard song lyric. All right. His younger brother, Michael Cummings, also uses the stage name Spider One and is the lead singer of another band called Power 5000, if you know that. So growing up, no surprise, Rob Zombie had a fascination with horror films, or of course he was born at that time, Robert Bartley Cummings. Both Zombie's music and film work draws influence from classic horror and suspense films, with Zombie citing the 1970s as the quote-unquote last great time when films were being made for the sake of the film and not for the sake of the money. He also cited artists such as Alice Cooper, Kiss, Queen, and Elton John as influences during his childhood. I could totally see that from the 70s. Zombie also claimed that his first record he ever bought was an Alice Cooper album, Metallica, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Slayer, Ministry, Pantera, Sepultura, that's how you say it, Black Flag, Love Me and Rollins, and Twisted Sister were also cited as influences by Zombie. He also claimed his mother would not allow him to watch horror films, namely the Texas Chainsaw Massacre back in 1974, which later served as an influence on his own films called House of 1,000 Corpses and The Devil's Reject. So eventually he got to where he wanted to be part of the horror genre, right? He also directed the majority of his music video as a solo artist, with numerous releases being influenced on referencing horror films. The music video for his single called Living Dead Girl is based upon the silent horror film The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari back in 1920, while his video for Never Gonna Stop, The Red Groovy, was heavily inspired by Clockwork Orange, a crazy film by Stanley Kubrick back in 1971. And then his film The Lords of Salem was inspired by the horror classic The Shining from 1980, Stephen King. So lots of references to horror. He had said of his childhood, quote unquote, I didn't inspire to be anything. I was just a dopey kid. Basically, everyone seemed amazing to me as a kid. I grew up in somewhere, nowhere town. Anybody that even seemed remotely famous just seemed like they were from another planet. And here's an interesting thing that adds probably to his tapestry of his work and his artistry. Rob Zombie's parents were carnies. They worked at a carnival. So in 1977, when he was 12, his parents chose to leave after a riot broke out at the carnival and the tents were set on fire. So this definitely stuck in his memory. He said of the experience, quote unquote, everybody's pulling out guns and you could hear guns going off. I remember this one guy we knew I remember this one guy we knew, he was telling us where to go, and some guy just ran up to him and hit him in the face with a hammer. Just busted his face wide open. My parents packed up real quick and we took off. He later elaborated, I think someone just got ripped off for a lot of money on the gambling tents, and they came back later and set the tents on fire, and it turned into this big riot. It was super violent and crazy, and I think that was when my parents were like, you know what? We might be able to find something better to be doing here. We might be able to find something better to be doing here because me and my brother are in the middle of this. Things are on fire, people beating the crap out of each other. Yeah, that would make sense for his parents to get out of the carny life. So then Rob Zombie, A.K. Cummings, graduated from Havenville High School in 1983 and moved to New York City and began attending, did not realize this, Parsons School of Design, where he did fashion design. And he met eventually his bandmate and future girlfriend, Sean Sewalt. I'm hopefully saying it right, so sorry, Sean. And did you know, before the success of White Zombie became, he was actually a production assistant for the children's show Pee-wee's Playhouse. So I can also see some influences from that too. How did he get his name Rob Zombie? So he took the stage name Rob Zombie from Bela Lugosi's 1932 horror film White Zombie, from which he also took that for his band name. The name first shows on his White Zombie's 1989 EP God of Thunder. He had previously used Rob Straker, or Straker, I guess is how it is, Straker, on the White Zombie LP's Soul Crusher and made them die slowly, but in 1996, he made Rob Zombie his legal name. Personal life, while he dated his White Zombie bandmate, Sean, from 1984 to 1991, they still continued to work together in the band, but eventually broke up, okay? That's when he started dating actress Sherry Moon in 1993. So 2 years later after his breakup with his bandmate. And they were married at Graceland Wedding Chapel in Las Vegas on Halloween, of course, October 31st, 2002. So, gosh, they'll hit their 23-year anniversary this Halloween. They originally set their wedding date for November 9th, but eloped 10 days before, which I bet you they're like, hey, let's do it on Halloween. Makes sense, right? They split their time between home in Los Angeles and a farm in Connecticut, and I'll go into that in a bit. So Zombie's public image has been denoted by his long hair, large beard, industrial fashion sense, and horror-themed makeup. He is actually described as an ethical vegan. I did not know that. And he and his wife, Sherry, used their Connecticut property to house rescued farm animals. He actually became a vegetarian back in 1982 after viewing a footage of a slaughterhouse. And I have to agree, I recently just saw a Netflix documentary on how chickens, cattle, pork, and I'm telling you, I haven't eaten any meat for the last 3-4 days because it too kind of, you can't unsee it. So I get it. He has a support of PETA and was thanked by the organization for his realistic portrayal of the link between childhood animal abuse and psychopathy in his remake of Halloween. Rob Zombie generally refrains from sharing his political and religious beliefs with the public, though he has mentioned that his mother once contemplated becoming a nun. Whoa. In the same interview, he said that he avoids all alcohol and drugs because he said he certainly didn't achieve anything by being wasted and fucked up. I love his, just saying it like it is. In a separate interview, he said that he does not believe in an afterlife. I thought that was interesting. And the concept of heaven was insane, believing that, quote unquote, this life is all you get. He also said he does not believe in concepts such as UFOs, aliens, or Bigfoot. He also criticized an initial cancellation of the 2020 horror film The Hunt, following an outcry from U.S. President Donald Trump at that time and his supporters, stating that, quote unquote, as far as canceling The Hunt, that's just a bullshit sacrificial lamb that solves nothing in society. But they always do that. If it wasn't that movie, it would have been a video game or something if it was somebody's rock album. So, free speech is what he's worried about. So back to the song. Rob Zombie told Billboard magazine that the title came from the name of Grandpa Munster's famous dragster, the Dragula on the Munsters. So that sounds familiar because I grew up. I didn't watch the Munsters when it initially aired. I wasn't even born, but I saw a lot of reruns and I know what he's talking about. Rob says that it was a classic show with great comic characters. Strangely enough, Dragula was one of the last songs finished for the record. It fell together easily, really fast. It fell together really fast and worked, but it could have easily not have been on the record. So, man, so glad it made it because it's one of his famous songs. Have you seen the music video? It's very interesting. So it originally was uploaded back on June 16, 2009. So it's going to hit its 16th year. It's roughly about 232 million views. It's an explosion of color and craziness. So the music video shows Rob Zombie driving the Munster coach. not the actual Dragula racing car, with various shots of its band members and different scenes from classic horror films spliced in. For example, 1920s Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde at the beginning of the video, and the killer robot from chapter film series The Phantom Creeps from 1939. So like really old classic horror movie clips, along with home video footage of 1950s, 60s family being entertained by a clown, with clips of the nuclear testing mushroom clouds overlapping, and when the clown and the girl are laughing, with the multicolor backdrops referencing a Willy Wonka and the chocolate factory in 1971, also with the footage of 1920s, 30s children being entertained and shocked. So amalgamation of crazy genres here. It got a lot of heavy rotation from MTV, and which helped the huge success of the album, because that's how I remember it in the 90s. Like, what is this? What am I hearing? The video also appears in the 1999 film Idle Hands. And I was wondering, who is the dancer in the video? It's a woman, wearing looks like a Russian furry hat. It's actually his wife, Sherry Moon. Moon had actually wanted to do cartoon voiceovers and took classes. She actually attended the Connecticut School of Broadcasting to become an MTV VJ, but then found herself preoccupied going on tour with Rob Zombie. And then when Rob Zombie's band, White Zombie, disbanded, he went solo. He took Moon on as a dancer, where she choreographed a lot of the routines and created costumes in the tour. Rest is history. Fell in love, got married, and she has appeared in 11 of Rob Zombie's solo music videos, including Dragula, and an additional 4 previous to that when he was fronting White Zombie. So there you go. So it's not talking about doing the dishes. That's the misheard song lyric, although it does kind of sound like it. It's just dig through the ditches, all right? And you know a little bit more about Rob Zombie. Happy birthday. Who knew that I was going to be taping this episode the day of his birthday? So there you go. And now you know a little bit more about him and his growing up in the world of carny parents, working on the set of Pee Wee Herman. I mean, so much. If you have any great suggestions like this misheard song lyric, just send it to any of our sites like Facebook, Instagram, or just send me an old-fashioned email at misheard, that's MISSHEARD songs @gmail.com. Till then, keep saying the songs wrong. Bye.